Happy Saturday, everyone. It's a rainy Saturday in Tulsa, Oklahoma this day. And we are glad we're able to be inside and avoid that. My two sidekicks, my sidekick and my sidekick's sidekick, more actually, David Arnett, our special guest for this week. He's more of a butt kick.
Yeah.
He likes to kick us in the butt when we're not looking. No. Dave and I have...
I thought you were going to clean your language up before we...
Oh, that is pretty clean, I think.
The kettle is black.
Yes, by the way, you know what's wonderful about this? Neither one of your mics is on. See, that's the power of control. And there's David 1, David 2, and I'm not saying which is which, but anyway, no. Hey, welcome everybody, and welcome to you, our guests, our audience, and on this rainy Saturday here in Tulsa. I don't know how it is where you are. I hope you're safe, whatever it is, and we thank you for tuning in. So, David Arnett. It's been a month or more since we've had you as our guest, and man, there's probably so much that we can get into since the last time we met with you, and I'm sure we'll get into a lot of that. And David Van, happy Saturday to you.
I feel so bad for the No Kings protest people in Tulsa.
Oh, yeah.
It breaks my heart that it's going to rain from now till 6 o'clock tonight.
Well, couldn't happen to a better group of people, could it? So, yeah, we're happy. I'm happy I'm inside, you know.
Yep.
Hey, a few big events today. OU, after their loss to Texas. And honestly, here, look, I want to say this about OU. It's Texas. Their quarterback was injured and trying to play.
Oklahoma's quarterback.
Oklahoma's, right.
Yes.
I would say they were playing Texas, to OU's credit. And so it's like playing with one arm behind your back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not totally a fair observation, but we get to see today against South Carolina if they're able to rebound. And a rebound would be a 20-point thrashing. Spread in the final score, but I know we have different views on different things and aspects, like the quarterback play, who should have started, who should not have started, and things like that. But overall, I don't want the OU fans to become all dejected and upset and so forth. If that's your position and posture, you shouldn't have left the Big 12. You shouldn't have joined the SEC. That's all I've got to say about that. Okay. So, David, what is your take and your view? You probably have a little different one from me, as you often do.
Well, I'm very excited for OU to be in the SEC. SEC has had the advantage of having a propaganda network.
Or two.
Hump for them for some period of time. Now, one of the things that I don't think SEC or SEC understands is that Oklahoma isn't here for football only. We are here for all of their championships. Mm-hmm. We want to own softball, basketball, gymnastics, wrestling, and we are highly competitive in those other fields.
That's a great point.
What I was stunned about was last year, when our women's softball team at OU was in a rebuilding year, but still made the National World Series. Alabama, or no, well, yes, it was Alabama. The coach from Alabama was making all these predictable, stupid comments about, well, you know, now the OU women softball can see what the SEC's all about. Yes, because, you know, it's where legends are made. And I just almost threw something at television when I heard that, because legends are not what OU is interested in. A legend is a little bit of fact and a whole lot of hype. What we're interested in is eating their lunch.
Yeah.
We're going after their championships.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
and after those comments, you might remember how it turned out that the OU women won the SEC, then won their tournament, and
who was the last
rest
game we played? Regular season. We went to Alabama and spanked their butts.
yeah, again, and whatever, and went to the tournament and won all of that, and then we're in the World Series. Now, we didn't win the World Series, but the 4 previous years we did. Which is a monumental feat.
Never been done
in any sport that anyone can remember anywhere. So, I appreciate that SEC had a partner in ESPN. And obviously, there was a very tight relationship, because the promotion by that channel was continual and repetitive and pretty much boring.
Sure.
So we don't expect to win every game as an OU fan.
Yeah.
And we certainly don't credit or we don't consider the administration of the university to necessarily be involved with this sports program. But the one good thing they've done is allow the sports teams and the various programs to focus on winning on the field by merit as opposed to by ideology or any other thing. So let's see how good, the SEC really is across the board and all these other sports.
You make a great point there, because in basketball and in wrestling, it was a step down going to SEC from the competitive standpoint. That's my thought.
And gymnastics. Don't forget men and women's gymnastics, which are championship programs.
Well, LSU is pretty good. I mean, they have some good teams, but then again, the Big 12, especially with Utah now.
It depends if they can pull their people out of the bayou.
Yeah.
Well, LSU, it's not fair to compare LSU because they had
the pretty girl.
The
Facebook girl.
Well, not just that. She was everywhere girl. I think I told Dave this story before, our people, how I visited my sister-in-law in Dallas. And she had a son that was like 15 and another one, I think 12 or 13. And somehow we came upon this NIL.
Yeah, Livy Dunn.
If you'll let me, so I started telling this story about this young lady at LSU, and she never knew. I said Livy Dunn is her name, and so in the other room were the 2 boys. Remember, like I said, 15 and 12 or 13, and they yell out. I couldn't think of her name, and from the other room they yell, Livy Dunn.
Yeah.
So that's, in fact, apparently there were herds of boys, young kids, high school kids, following LSU to these gymnastic meets. That's how popular she was. So that's LSU's claim to fame. And as far as gymnastics goes, I don't know how they actually did in the SEC or in the national rankings. But OU definitely has established themselves in that area in softball and in football. And again, I'm a little upset with them and jaundiced a little bit because they left. And I probably wouldn't have been as upset had they gone somewhere other than the SEC. And I know, and bottom line, it's a money decision. They felt they could make more money there than they could at the Pac, with merging with the Pac or whatever. So it's done. It's a done deal. So we have to live with it. And it just irks me again, though, that Texas can have lost year after year after year in the Big 12 before they went to the SEC. And now, as soon as they join the SEC, it's all Texas, and what's his name? What's the quarterback? Arch Manning. Yeah, Arch Manning. How they're just pumping this kid up, and on any other team, he'd be a mediocre quarterback.
He does good for a freshman. Problem is, he's a junior, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I've heard 4 years of hype, and I'm finally getting to see a guy worthy to be on the field.
Well, as a dedicated OU fan, I have to admit that Texas, like the SEC, does great work in propaganda and fails miserably when they have to prove it. Now, true. OU, keep in mind, I have been a fan since I was the remote control for my dad and granddad that were telling me to turn the channel. So I've been watching them for a long, long time. But I do not believe that we're going to win everything all the time. And I don't want to brag, although we're certainly better looking and more, accomplished than most other schools. But the fact is, all we as fans, even the most zealous, expect is that we'll compete at a high level. And that's all you can really ask a program, to get in there and to fight. I'm a little depressed about Texas. I would have liked to seen Hawkins Jr., Michael, Hawkins Jr. in as quarterback, because I don't think that the healing had occurred on the quarterback's hand.
Maybe. You're talking about last week's game.
Yeah, last week's game. But, Texas doesn't win that often. Every once in a while, we need to cut them a break. Yeah. And by the way, you do know we own Texas, right? That's how we got the Oklahoma Panhandle. That's true. And we've always been on top of Texas. Just take any map and hold it up to your face. We're above Texas. Texas is below. And we try and keep them from floating off into the Gulf of America as best we can. But there are still, like in Oklahoma, blueberry cities. And the biggest blueberry city in Oklahoma, I would suggest brainless blueberry city, now that we have a socialist democratic or democratic socialist mayor, is Tulsa. So maybe he is going to march in today's little parade.
No Kings.
Well, the Communist Parade, because it is sponsored by the Communist Party of America.
So we should say no kings, but comrades.
Right. Yeah. I think, the comrades protest. Yeah.
Well, and Mayor Monroe Nichols has told me and has demonstrated, I believe, spoke to others publicly, that he believes that housing is a governmental right. Housing is a governmental right. Now, at that time, I have to admit, I was in a casual relation with him and able to talk freely, and suggested that he notify Kathy Taylor, the former mayor, and his mentor in all things he's ever done, that if he would please tell her that I intend to move into her house, if that is true. If government is going to buy housing for us, then I want the nicest house in town, and certainly she spent more money on that than I spent on my house. And so I'm more than happy to move in, and I'll measure the drapes here in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I tell you about the OU in Texas moving to SEC. That started everything, right? Because the Big Ten then had to respond by going after USC, UCLA. And
you're not going to let me transition into local politics? Oh, you want to go back to the football stuff?
You said
I was with you. I was ready to go.
You said something 5 minutes ago. I've been waiting to respond to.
I will wake up. I'll wake you up before I transition again. I promise.
I do have one more thing, and that's of that initial move, Texas and OU, half of it I love. I am so glad. I hope Texas screws over the SEC like they did with the Longhorn Network on the Big 12. That's my thought.
All right.
Yeah. Well, my only final comment on football or sports, actually, I was hoping that with OU's transition to the SEC, that OSU would become the leader of the Big 12 that they had always said they would be, if only they weren't humiliated on a regular basis by OU.
Yeah.
And yet here we go. Now they've lost their football coach. They seem to be kind of at loose ends, and I hope they're able to put it back.
They will be back. They will be back. The only thing I need to throw in here is that the number 16 in the nation is from Texas.
Yeah.
It's not Texas.
I've got a name to replace Mike Gundy.
Wait, you're not letting me finish.
I'm sorry. Dramatic
David,
pause.
This is his normal thing.
You have to deal with this on a regular basis.
Every week.
He does his dramatic pause, and I think he's done.
No, it's exactly that, a dramatic pause.
Yeah.
And I hate to remind this and bring up the sore spot, but who eliminated OU softball from the playoffs last year? The World Series, College World Series.
Yeah.
And in basketball, who has been in the final?
Okay, now you're talking Texas Tech.
Yeah, I'm talking Texas
Now,
Tech.
I appreciate you did go to school there, right?
I did go to school.
Correct.
Put on a football uniform.
It's amazing they let you move to Oklahoma, but that's okay.
Hey, it just shows it's a free country.
It is a free
God
country.
is good. God is good. I have come to the right state. I moved just in time, and I'm happy to be here. Been here. Wow.
And I appreciate
10 times
you
as long as I've lived anywhere in the world.
Well, and I appreciate that. My attitude is if you don't like the place you live in, move.
Right.
Yeah.
I am here in Oklahoma. I came back after being born and raised and boomeranged out and came back to the city because I love this part of Oklahoma and the state generally, but Tulsa in particular. Although I'm thinking maybe a suburb would be better given the current leadership of the city that's going to drive it into bankruptcy. Mark my words, they're going to be asking for a sales tax increase. Monroe Nichols can't wait to take more of our money. But have you looked at the DEI staff that this guy has put together?
Yeah, it's a shame. That's the sad thing. It's funny. Tulsa is building a name. The problem is the name the city proper is building is not a good one, but the metro area, we have some great suburbs and that are doing some great things. BA, Owasso, Bixby, and I predict Sand Springs is going to wake up at some point, and that's going to explode and flourish. But the city itself will be surrounded by some incredible communities, and Tulsa will try to probably take credit for it while it seems to diminish. And it's sad for the occupants of the city itself because the city has so much potential, but we're throwing so much money away to DEI issues and things that do not really benefit the city at large. And I hate to see that. I really do hate to see that because Tulsa is a beautiful city, has so much potential to be a more beautiful city. And we're so located so well in the center of the United States that, it's just a shame that we don't have the leadership that can take us into the next phase and move us up. Dave.
Well, may I share a couple of facts? Okay. This is the staff of the mayor's administration. And this is a report. It's resilient at cityoftulsa.org is the way. And this was done also Tulsa's Daily Pravda reported on this. But Danielle Hayes, if I pronounce that correctly, Chief Resilience Officer, apparently she's at the top of the pile of the DEI folks, but her salary was not mentioned. Right below her was Saber Amante, Immigration Service Liaison for $50,918 a year. And then let me just give you the titles of these people because I'm afraid I'm going to mispronounce pronounce their names, and I don't want to dispute them in any way, shape, or form. But then you have the Resilience and Equity Program Administrator for $65,790, the Children's Medical Health Initiative Grant Coordinator for $80,070 a year, and the Community Genealogy Grant Coordinator for $76,500. And then there is the Compliance Officer. I'm not exactly sure who she's complying with, but, that's $74,711. And then the Resilience Program Coordinator, $81,044. And the Director of the Office of Financial Empowerment. Does finance empower? I guess it does, come to think about it. That's a cool $100,000 a year job. And then the Chief Mental Health Officer, $122,400. And then the Immigrant and Refugee Affairs Manager for $72,826. Now, of those positions I just listed and the salaries there, are those core government services? Yeah. Are they infrastructure? Are they going to make our lives better? We are so far down the sewer of identity politics in this city, it's almost embarrassing.
Okay. You just listed off some titles that, you've been following city government a lot closer than I have, David. I've never heard of those office titles before. I think they created new titles so you couldn't compare their performance. We don't know what to expect from that office because it's a new title.
Well, I have a theory for your consideration, David and Eddie, if you would, here on Fresh Black Coffee, because we do get to the core issues. Democrats seem to hire their friends, especially their ideological brethren. Republicans stand in a circle and shoot their friends for not being pure enough.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, the Republican Party in Oklahoma has marksmanship, quality aim when they're targeting their own feet.
That's true.
Beyond that, I'm not really sure what the effort is to quibble when the insanity of the Democrats is so overwhelmingly obvious.
Yeah. He's going there, Eddie.
Everything you're saying is true.
That's why I get in trouble a lot.
Yeah, it's irked me for ages that Republicans like to. It's like I've told this before. There was a famous Christian teacher named Bob Mumford, and he was talking about how we like to sing "Onward, Christian Soldier." The only difference between our Christian army and the others, when the normal wounded come back, we bind the wounds and heal them. But with the Christian soldiers, when their wounded come back hurt and needing attention, what do? We finish them off.
That's right.
And so, we're, like you said, it's a circular firing squad. We're continually taking shots at each other. I don't know if you want to go there or we want to go there, but even with these Republican clubs, the shenanigans going on there, and it's like a power grab. And somehow, I don't know, this is the thing I try to figure out. Why or how are the Democrats able to keep their flock in check?
I think, a suggestion you might want to consider. Now, this is just simply from my observation. Democrats are happy to welcome anyone who wants to destroy the country. Now, really, think about this. There used to be patriotic Democrats. I don't know where they've gone.
Mhm.
There used to
They
be
become
Democrats.
Republicans.
Yeah, well, it used to be that partisanship stopped at the shores, and now you have these pathetic leftists that are going to Europe and other places and demonizing the country that they're from. Once again, just like in the state, you don't like Oklahoma, move. If you don't like Florida, move. If you don't like New York, move. If you don't like America, have a good time elsewhere. Apparently, Ireland is a good spot for some of our more famous critics. But regardless, we have to understand that there is a reason why we celebrate the nation. The history is there. And I am so tired of people demonizing and tearing down the country that they had no investment, apparently, in making this good.
Right. But it still doesn't answer the question. What I think I was trying to get at, maybe I didn't communicate well, is how are Democrats able to keep everybody locked in and moving in the same direction while Republicans are sitting there like, what's the old crabs in the barrel? You boil the water and let me pull you down because I got to get up there. I got to get up there. I got to get up there. We have a harder time. Even look at our Senate. Look at Congress. The Democrats, 50 votes. Everything, 50 votes. I think on this latest budget deal, there are 3 naysayers on the Democrat Party. But the Republicans, you've got them. I mean, you got Murkowski, you've got Collins from Maine, you've got this guy, Dr. What's his name from Louisiana. You've got different. It's always somebody yank. They're unhappy and they don't want to do this, and it just after a while it drives me nuts and it makes everything so hard.
Eddie, let me suggest that it's really very, very simple. Now, I was talking about it that you were welcomed into the Democratic Party as long as you were anti-American. Okay. It goes a little further than that. Now, please understand, it is my considered opinion that Democrats are morally criminal, emotionally unstable, and cognitively incapable. Other than that, they're very fine people. Now, it is so much easier if you abandon morality, which they have apparently done, and live in sin and decadence. Now, sin is very attractive. It's very temporarily pleasing, but the long-term consequence of it make it clear that it's not a healthy lifestyle or healthy attitude towards life. Now, that's the morally criminal. And if Democrats want to go, well, they're not morally criminal. Well, explain to me, what are the family values of the Biden family or the Obama family or the Clinton family? Now, setting the morally criminal aside, let's look to the emotionally unstable. Yeah, pretty much. They rant and rave. They have the worst case of projection that I've ever seen. When they yell about democracy, they don't mean democracy. Right, they mean mob rule with their mob leaders in charge. Right. But they cannot even vote for the clean, continuing resolution to keep the government going, to keep our law enforcement and our military paid. Because, well, it's Donald Trump doing it, or it's Republicans doing it. Well, if it was good for the goose, it's good for the gander. She did it for one, do it for the other. And let's get on down the road in organizing governance so that it actually works for people, not just the people that you expand. Somebody got after me the other day about the housing issue in Monroe Nichols and the money he's poured into those kinds of programs. And I had to explain to them, the housing crisis with the Democrats is not about housing the unhoused. It's about employing more people to address housing and the unhoused.
Yeah.
There's a subtle difference in that.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so setting aside their emotional instability and their projection, which is just beyond irony, it's just ludicrous, then we get to the cognitive impairment. Now, I don't believe Democrats can reason. I don't see that in their public policy. They want to demonize, they want to marginalize, they want to exacerbate crisis because, never let a crisis go to waste. And that's what they do. That is not governance. Now, conservatives, on the other hand, they get involved in politics to try and accomplish something, not to be something. Democrats want to be something, whether it's the, chubby governor of Illinois, corrupt governor of Illinois, or the communist mayor of Chicago, or the communist running for mayor of New York. They all want to fulfill themselves.
Jasmine Crockett
is another one. So they wrap themselves in meaningless rhetoric and stride out onto the public stage as though they are something.
Yeah.
Conservatives know God, in their own merit, in their own work, created who they are.
Yeah. I want to take a crack at your question, Eddie. Why do
you want to repeat the question? Oh, yeah, you're getting ready to. Okay, I'm sorry. In case anybody forgot.
Yeah, and by the way, you're watching.
God knows I can talk.
You're watching Fresh Black Coffee. We're from here at the Eddie Huff Insurance Studios, and what we're talking about is why are the Democrats always voting lockstep, no defectors, except for Fetterman, and a couple others here recently, but. Do you remember when Obama was president and Harry Reid was Senate president?
Yes. And
Harry Reid did something Obama didn't like. The next Monday or Tuesday, Harry Reid comes back with that massively swollen black eye that he said came from exercising in his home fitness gym. Have you seen Harry Reid? He doesn't look like a guy who works out. Now, I could believe it was Mark Wayne Mullen because he actually was sparring with Kevin McCarthy and took a shiner and a big old nose, swelling. But, that was legit. This is I don't put it past them to exercise some physical discipline, behind the woodshed.
Yeah, either that or some major pressure, you will not get any money for your reelection.
Well, yeah.
I think that is a bigger one with, and I throw the name out there, George Soros, the people that run Progressive Insurance. I can't think of the name.
Tide Foundation, the Ford Foundation, all of those.
Right. The money, I think, guides them.
Here's a key point, because this came up yesterday. Governor Pritzker went to Vegas and came away from the blackjack table with $1.4 million. Now, can you say money laundering?
Now, just because he recently helped Illinois expand their gambling business doesn't mean he would personally benefit. Or does it? I don't know. I'm so confused.
Or just rewarding him for running his mouth on the far left woke agenda.
I know.
I'm kind of with him.
Well, no, it could be that, but
or both. It could be both.
But nonetheless, I'm alleging money laundering.
Well, I am careful on allegations of specifics I haven't studied, but I know that Tulsa voters approved a new center for fire and police and emergency center.
The old State Farm building.
The State Farm building. And now, lo and behold, they find it's going to cost $25 million more, between $10 and $25 million more.
Let me give a little background on that.
Please do.
A year ago, when I was running against Lori Dector Wright, I was told that that facility is unlivable. It's been condemned. And I was told they had backed out. The police and fire were saying, no, we're not going to do that. But somehow it was revived and they brought it in. But they forgot to, and the reason for the backing out of that situation last year was exactly what you're saying. The conditions of the building are so bad that it was unfunctional. And so, functional something. It was not functionable. Anyway, then all of a sudden, lo and behold, a month later, and I was told from somebody in the know in the police department that had told me, no, that's not happening because the place is uninhabitable. Coming a month later, 6 weeks later, well, it is. They're going to do it anyway. And so now we see how they're doing it by throwing another $25 million to essentially rehabilitate.
Bring it to code.
Yeah, bring it to code. and when they could probably have built their own building.
Sure.
For less, so it's
in a much better location.
In a better location.
But I want to say, it sounds like the Wilcom City Hall deal all over again. Remember all the great promises? Why, we were going to rent out a third of the floors and make money on the deal. Really? Well, but we got to get rid of all that glass and recirculate because a windstorm comes through and rips glass and rain shards on the street. This is the kind of crap that we keep falling for.
Yeah. And
I would remind you of your language.
I am.
And
yes.
I would ask you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't been listening, prior to the show, I was a little robust in my language and was called to task by my host and co-host.
He said booger
today. I did not. But they were not pleased with my robust language. And so I was warned. And yet we find now two examples.
Guilty.
Two examples of inappropriate or at least questionable language on the show. Yes. Now, this is fresh standards here that we need to maintain.
Yes. Apologies to you all.
Yeah.
Some of the inside stuff going on. But I take both of your points. And David, especially exactly what's going on with this new center they're building, emergency center, supposed to have police, fire, and EMSA, and whatever it is, that's an emergency. When you dial 911, it will all go to one place and they'll get it out from there. Well, supposedly.
Eddie, my point is a little bit more severe. Okay. Somebody lied to us.
No, I know. I was just explaining to you what this money is supposed to be going for.
Somebody was incompetent in judging how much money was going to be required for this venture. Somebody needs to go to jail for this.
I beg to
forgive me for going on, but do not bring a public vote forward until you have the numbers straight.
Yeah.
Now, to bring out a public vote just to get a few million, and then all of a sudden it's twice that or three times that or four times that. No. They cannot do that. They cannot be this incompetent at City Hall. Well,
I would change that to should not be, because apparently they can.
Wait a minute. That's right. It was G.T. Bynum that was there.
Or the ghost mayor.
Well, Kathy Taylor.
Yes. She's been the ghost mayor for more than, 10 years now.
Yeah. But essentially what we've got is duplicity and lies, basically cover-ups, because as I said, they knew a year ago that this facility was not able to be used for what they intended it to be used for. And at one point they had backed out, and then all of a sudden someone convinced them that no, we're going to go and we'll just throw another $25 million on top of it and see if the people don't know it.
Working your campaign last summer, you talked to some of the I think it was the firefighters union maybe, or the FOP. But I remember you said, hey, it's fallen apart. And we thought, okay, that's one issue that we can't make part of the campaign. But they dogged us. Now it's back.
It's back.
They somehow got you to shut up about it because I'm questioning whether you were given accurate.
Well, no, I think it's big. No, it's bigger than my campaign. It's just basically a cover up to get more money that they want. Someone wanted to make money on that facility.
Yes.
And they were for sure going to do it. And, and so they had to cover it up and keep it under wraps until, well, it's a year now, a year later. But now we release the info that it's another $25 million. And this is the kind of thing that what upsets me is that the citizens of Tulsa put up with this. They put up with it, David, and they're going to keep doing it. They're going to keep doing it.
Well, so how are we going to resolve that? How are we going to awaken? Can we not get flyers for fresh black coffee in everyone's hands so that they will listen to this and other things? The problem is we have a pathetic and failing newspaper.
There's your real problem. And don't forget the broadcast media.
Well, and broadcast media. Well, I was not going to get into this. Okay. There are broadcast outlets that make money off of conservative national host, but are locally so leftist that you would not believe them. And their take is subtle, but it is designed to disempower truth, justice, and the American way, and empower socialism, Marxism, and general evil. I don't know whether they are a part of the deviant community in total or in part, but they are not our friends.
Oh, I agree totally. We agree.
Now, the point is, Tulsa is, in my opinion, the largest, and based on my research, the largest city in the nation without a talk show. Now, we have a lot of listeners here at Fresh Black Coffee, but we will probably reach those people who primarily agree with us. On talk radio, you have a chance to reach from silo to silo of self-opinion. You know, because what is happening today is that people are standing in rooms covered in mirrors and believe everybody thinks the way they believe. I mean, the executive editor of the Tulsa World told me in January, I think of 23, that his newspaper was middle of the road. And I say that again because the last time I said that on Fresh Black Coffee, you belly laughed. And now again, you do. Yeah. We know this is a leftist rag. Now, with the editorial editor changes they've made recently, at least their editorial board is not quite so mentally ill. But they are certainly leftist at best. And they have no compunction about eliminating voices that disagree with them. And until they do an outward and visible dramatic sign of enabling difference of opinion within their pages, my attitude is that it should remain primarily flooring for bird cages.
Yeah, it's we've all had our experiences with the local newspaper, and that's what the problem you get into with having one citywide paper. And sadly, the network television and radio broadcast networks have gone the same way.
Sure. Well, they don't even have editorial that they agree with in broadcast. The television, I agree. It's difficult to make a living in media locally. That's very hard. And so you don't want to aggravate the chamber of self-service or other significant, billionaires who may live in the area. But they are not afraid of funding National Public Radio, NPR, or other kinds of to get the kinds of reporting they want. Where are conservatives?
That's a good point.
Willing to put the money out for either advertising or supporting behind the scenes conservative voices? Yeah. Where is that?
No, you've hit it. You've hit it. I've been saying this for years, and even when I was on KFAQ, I could see it. And essentially, a true conservative voice in Tulsa is lacking. Now, this Patriot station that iHeartRadio runs, the problem with it is on such a poor signal.
I live in Midtown. I can't get it.
Yeah, yeah. You're dealing with that, and nobody wants to listen to that. And regardless how good the programming is, and then it's reach. Like you said, if you get 5 blocks out of range, you can't even get it.
Yeah.
So that it is sorely needed, and and here's the tragedy. Okay, and I'm not going to name any names, but there's a certain director or someone in management, or was in management at KFAQ, and basically was there when it went defunct and ran it into the ground. And that same person now is back in charge on KRMG.
Failing upward.
Yeah, well, yeah. And so, while there was hope that possibly the new owner or owners of KRMG might reverse things, I don't see it happening because of the management. The management is, I would be surprised, to be honest with you, if it's still there in 5 years.
I'm going to defend them.
Okay.
First of all,
and you can leave right afterwards.
Yeah,
that's
okay. I've been thrown out by bigger and better people than you. Believe me.
Ouch.
I will never forget Richard Roberts, who threw me off ORU's campus one time. That's a story we'll go into one of these days. Yeah. But Cox Media Group sold 4 stations, including the flagship KRMG, to Zellner Media Group, which is a new group that's formed. It is a big deal to establish ownership of 4 stations
locally.
Locally, yeah. Not only, I mean, those are office equipment, signal. I mean, those are complicated things. To assume now, just less than a month after they got the keys to the office, that they are going to make programming changes might be a little premature. Now, we don't know.
Right.
We really don't. How much influence the new ownership will exert over his property. But here's something I will share with you. I do know the guy who's in charge, and he did tell me that when news of this purchase came out, the staff of the station talked to him. They came to him in fear that it would go MAGA. MAGA. They were very concerned about that. And he assured them that everything is going to be fine. It's going to be just going down the road. And you don't know at this point whether he was telling them what they needed to hear or before, or whether that was his dedicated position. Now, I know there is I know their staff. I used to have a call-in talk show on KRMG.
Yeah, I remember that.
And in fact, I was the last local call-in talk show on KRMG from 2010 to 2011. And I was developing a following. We were actually getting, good numbers. And I think that's why they did not continue the contract, because they really didn't want a conservative voice locally. Yeah. They were kind of hoping I'd fall on my face, but that did not happen.
Yeah, I got to ask you, David, because you follow this a lot closer than I did. We talked about it sometime last summer. I think we were having breakfast one time. And about that time, I heard a local news guy that I happen to know pretty well. He just all of a sudden up and quit. He just quit broadcasting altogether, part of their news team. And now you're saying, if I hear you right, did the actual transaction happen a month ago?
No. Well, first of all, FEC, the Federal Communications Commission, has to approve sales of network or channel public broadcasting. And so that is a long process. The industry inside publications were talking about this in May.
Yeah.
And so it is my understanding they only got the keys within the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
So
operationally, it is recent.
It is recent operationally.
Okay.
And, they were in one location and they may stay there. They may go other places. I don't know. I'm not privy to those.
Right. But a couple of months ago, I went to their website and it said Zellner Media Group a couple months ago. And that's why I thought, it's done. But maybe I was presumptuous there.
I am trying to practice diplomacy here a little bit, which is not really my normal running, swimming lane.
You're not known for it, usually.
But I have my own platform.
Okay.
I have talked to them. Don't know whether anything will come of those talks, but what makes me different than others, and Eddie, what makes you different from others, is that we own the platform and can really say anything we want to.
That's true.
Now, I first launched TulsaToday.com in 1996.
Remember that.
At any moment of any day, and I've published regularly, since that time, through marriages and divorces and moves and tragedy and blessing, I've been able to keep it up.
Yeah.
I think I can prove to anybody, the IRS or any group, that local journalism is the fastest working way to poverty outside of divorce. But that aside, I didn't start that and haven't continued it because I wanted my own fame or because I wanted money. I could have gone into petroleum or some other field if I just wanted to make money. Yeah. What I wanted to do was try and fix the things in my community that needed to be fixed so that my grandchildren and their children would be able to live and prosper here in northeastern Oklahoma or throughout Oklahoma. I've never been sued for a mistake of fact or accused of one that I knew of. Doesn't mean I'm without mistake, but if I do, I admit that and go on down the road and correct it, and correct the public record. I got a call from somebody. It was kind of interesting. Years and years ago, she ran for public office for a city councilor, and I didn't write much about her, but I won't tell you her name. It's not important. She has continued to live here in Tulsa, but she's very much a leftist. And I didn't really want to go into great detail. So apparently she thought I damned her with a compliment. I called her a very young and aggressive candidate, but good-hearted. But I didn't go into detail on that. She apparently, in her life after that time, used that as a bloody red flag that I had discriminated against her by referring to her as young and female and all of that. If I would have written in detail, she would have liked it much, much less. So, if you write something good about someone, they'll forget it in about a week and a half. If you write something bad about someone, they will wave it like a bloody red flag. And she told me, she finally reached out and contacted me and told me about the story. And I was able to immediately just delete it. The election was long over. It didn't need to be on the server. I was happy to do that. And she apparently was happy about that. But she was mentioning my name and the publication name nationwide as she went. I think her mission that got her traveling was promoting electric vehicles. If you gives you some idea to where she was on the political spectrum. And I wish her the best of luck. Now, I never meant to personally hurt her.
All right.
But you got to wonder who is willing to stand on the field and talk about truth and who is not. And that's why I appreciate Fresh Black Coffee and what you do.
Well, thank you.
Eddie, I just want to say, folks, we're live on Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube, and I'd appreciate it if you're watching us. Send a link, send an invite to some of your friends. We'd like to spread the word. Go ahead.
All right, Dave, thank you. The preceding announcement was brought to you by.
You just got to do these things.
No, I understand. Hey, here's something interesting. In the Oklahoma gubernatorial election news, Laura Loomer, which most of us know that name and recognize that she's a female gadfly, counterpart to our friend David here, who likes to stir the pot every now and then, more now than then. But anyway, she just put out a thing that I was not aware of, and we'll see where this comes out. But according to Laura Loomer, exclusive hypocrisy exposed. I don't know if you've heard this. Oklahoma AG Gentner Drummond's anti-woke facade crumbles amid wife's pro-2S LGBTQ leadership role. So here's Gentner Drummond is running for governor of Oklahoma. He's the current AG of Oklahoma, along with donating to Joe Biden's campaign in 2000 and then blaming it on his wife. He's also masquerading as anti-woke. He talks a lot about being against DEI and LGBTQ causes, but he has a dirty secret he doesn't want voters knowing. Meet Wendy Drummond, the wife of Gentner.
Second wife, I believe, at least.
Right. The current wife of Gentner Drummond and GOP gubernatorial primary candidate. Wendy is an entertainment attorney who serves as an executive board member and chair of the Tulsa Film, Music, Arts, and Cultural Commission, Tulsa FMAC, from January 17 to 21. That's prior that she had served. Tulsa FMAC has long advocated for Twisted Arts, a Tulsa-based organization dedicated to championing, celebrating, uplifting, and amplifying 2S LGBTQ plus artists. Does anybody know what 2SL stands for?
Two-Spirit.
Thank God David's here because I would not know this.
Yeah. All right. Which spirits are we talking about? This is a new one. The 2S in front of the LGBTQ plus. Maybe you can. Well, let me finish the paragraph and then you can. Okay. So anyway, she's was championing, celebrating, uplifting, amplifying 2S LGBTQ plus artists throughout Oklahoma through excellence in independent films, music, performance, and mixed media. There you are. If I had read on, the acronym 2S LGBTQ plus stands for two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning, and intersex and androgynous, with the plus encompassing additional identities not named. Oh man! In case we missed anybody, that plus sign will cover it. As Oklahoma's Attorney General Gunter Drummond has declared obscene drag shows and pledged to prosecute them, despite the fact that the Tulsa Film, Music, Arts, and Cultural Commission, previously chaired by his wife, has openly supported groups involved in drag performances in Tulsa.
I need to call Laura.
Some of which have even been geared towards children. So you know her.
I not any more than you or anybody else, but I need to reach out to her to point out that Tulsa is the only other city besides San Francisco that has a what they call, I guess, the Dennis R. Neely Equity Center, which is a center for training activists to go out and destroy the culture of northeastern Oklahoma and implement deviant behavior everywhere they can.
Wow.
Now, this is it's on 3rd Street. That's where they have their little, used to have a parade, and now they have a little festival area. These are the people that had a candlelight visual for Nex, the girl from Owasso that killed herself.
Yes.
And that was a sad and terrible event. But what was incredibly interesting to me was a report from Visit Vantage on Substack that identified the Dennis R. Neely Center in Tulsa as being funded by U.S. taxpayers, USAID.
Oh my gosh.
That was supposed to be funding foreign aid, decided the foreign they wanted to destroy was Oklahoma's culture. And that Tulsa was the city they can, use as their base. And to their credit, 58%, I believe, 56 or 58% of Midtown Tulsa voted for Kamala Harris in the last presidential election, a proven idiot, incapable of articulation or fundamental thinking. Again, back to the incompetent ability to execute cognitive reasoning. So, Tulsa is a blueberry city. The rest of America voted for common sense. We, in fact, elected a democratic socialist, self-proclaimed. And if you vote for socialism, you get communism. That's historic.
Sure.
It's always been, because it's just a matter of degree and public relations. They still want top-down dictatorial management to bring about a utopia they never define and can never define or specify, but use this utopia dream of theirs to destroy what we have without really saying what they want to replace it with.
Yeah.
And I find that offensive.
Well, I look at what happened to the Democrat Party. Again, today, they are saying, no kings, no kings. We got to save our democracy, which they really mean our regime. And yet Kamala Harris, who was their appointed candidate, never won a state primary. Oh, in fact, they never held a state primary this last election round. Through palace intrigue, she became their appointed candidate. And then somehow she raised over $1 billion. That's a record in presidential politics, and still lost.
Now, I kind of distracted you a little bit there from your criticism of Ginter Drummond, because I'm sure he's a wonderful person. However, I don't trust the man, and I don't trust him as the AG, and here's why specifically.
Good. Tell us.
The Tulsa public school system betrayed their teachers and their students in stealing $66 million to go to consultants on invoices that didn't even outline any work done by the consultant. That was investigated by our state auditor and inspector, Cindy Bird, now running for lieutenant governor, and it was exposed. And then that information went to the Attorney General's office, Ginter Drummond. And what has he done with it? He says he's still investigating. I'm sorry, after a forensic audit, how many years does it take to continue investigating before you bring charges? And if he can't bring charges with that kind of heinous destruction of education in Tulsa, then take him, his leftist wife, and all his friends and deport them to Russia. Right. It's better for us.
Right. Now, you're exposing something that's an undermining of our Constitution. In my research on this, much of it comes from Ginter Drummond. When he was running for Attorney General the first time against Mike Hunter, Gary Jones, the auditor at the time, had tipped me off. He says, Dave, I can't talk about this, but it's important. Said, we did an audit, forensic audit of the Tar Creek cleanup in Pitcher, where they threw out a legitimate bid for about $100,000 to bulldoze a couple square blocks. And instead gave it to the contract to a carpet cleaning company out of Grove that didn't even own a bulldozer for over $1 million. And Gary knew there was problems there, but here's the point I'm getting at. The Attorney General, according to our Constitution, has a right to seal it while he investigates it. Problem is, they waited until one day after the statute of limitations to bring charges. Here's the important thing. Our Constitution gives certain citizen rights to you, me, everybody else, that we can circulate a petition when our prosecutor, our Attorney General, doesn't, that we can call a grand jury to look at it. What Mike Hunter had done was undermine our constitutional rights as citizens. And he exposed that. Now I'm saying he's guilty of the very thing he was attacking Mike Hunter for.
I have no idea who's guilty and who's not in Oklahoma, but I can tell you that there is something a lot closer to home for the Drummond family. In Pawhuska, there is a building called the Kennedy Building. It is and again, the detailed information has been provided to the Attorney General's office. They have done nothing. But it is the most obvious example of bid rigging I have ever seen in my entire life, and pretty much everyone in Osage County knows about it. If you mention the Kennedy Building, they'll just kind of roll their eyes and go, yeah, that was a cluster. A train wreck, so to speak. But there is a unsolved homicide in Tulsa County where a lady 44 years ago at 31st and Utica was shot dead in her home. And TPD says it's an ongoing investigation, but there is no investigation going on. Yeah. The reason they call it ongoing is so they can prevent the trustee of her estate or any of her family from looking at the investigative file. And the reason why is because TPD officers were involved in it. They are corrupt in that case. Now, the point is, and we could get off on the judicial system in Tulsa County as well. We have problems in Oklahoma. Oklahoma has dramatic, provable illustrations of corruption. But if you're swimming in a corrupt sea, how exactly do you change the nature of the water?
Yeah.
Now, without a newspaper with any kind of testicular strength, without a broadcast organization that has courage, well, it's up to you and me.
Yeah.
So maybe we are the MAGA they fear.
Yeah, I do want to say this because I talked to John O'Connor when he was Attorney General, and he was upset that Cindy Byrd had released something over a weekend before he got a chance to get in his office and consider whether or not he needs to do a criminal investigation. And he was really upset with her. And I said to him, it was at Republican Assembly, Tulsa Republican Assembly meeting. I said, my only problem with that is what Mike Hunter did. And actually Scott Pruitt before him. Because I think it was Pruitt then became the EPA director to help cover it up because they're the only ones who could come after us. But what I'm trying to get at here, I said, John, what I want from the Attorney General's office is a limit, 3 years to investigate. If you can't bring an indictment, then let the people of Oklahoma look at it. We paid for it. We have rights, and we need to protect our rights to call for a circulation for a grand jury.
Not to keep talking and ignoring Eddie, who is our real host here, David.
Yeah.
Let me suggest that lawyers are a self-selecting group. They're usually the smartest people in their college class that go into law school. They are in pursuit of a monopolistic cash flow that empowers them as predators and every other human being as prey. Yeah. Now, if Oliver Wendell Holmes is correct that justice stops at the courthouse steps and only law proceeds therein, how can the citizens who fund every nickel and dime of the justice system have any independent assurance that there is even a modicum of justice within the system so named for it? Yeah. There are no checks and balances over the criminal justice system. The Bar Association is a joke. Yep. They are protecting the lawyers.
It is.
They are not fighting for truth.
Racketeering.
In Oklahoma, if you as an attorney criticize a judge, your law license can be taken from you for that alone.
Yeah.
Now, if you can't criticize, we've heard for years about the thin blue line, police officers protecting each other. That has no comparison to the thick black line of judicial incompetence, arrogance, ignorance, laziness, and just stupidity. Now, keep in mind, I'm an overgrown Eagle Scout. 2 Palms, Order of the Arrow, God Country, went through the whole program. I believed in the court system. I believed that if to be a judge, you had to be just a step above. Yeah. You had to be honorable. Mm-hmm. I was deeply mistaken, and I regret that.
Mm-hmm. There are 2 classes of people that we call honorable: legislators and judges. And I'm still waiting to see how many of them are going to be worthy of that title.
I'd like any of them to prove it.
Yeah, but case in point, if you look into an attorney who happened to criticize a Supreme Court justice and has now spent over 2 years in confinement, almost all of it in solitary confinement. And the last I checked was getting treatment for and examination for severe mental illness caused by over 2 years of solitary confinement in the Tulsa jail at the hands of Gettner Drummond's prosecution team.
I would say at the hands of Steve Kunzweiler.
He recused himself right away, But he's the one that brought the evidence. Yeah.
He's the DA.
He handed it to somebody else. And that's the thing. Everybody's handing it off. I think they've had 8 judges now.
Well, and Jeff's problem was that he actually dated other attorneys,
including employees of Steve Kunzweiler,
and married or kind of
unemployed,
half married or something, married for a little while.
Yeah,
that's a very convoluted case.
It is.
And
it's really
Jeff
hard to
certainly has filed to disqualify multiple judges. It's gotten to be a very convoluted thing.
Yeah, it is.
But I do not buy a case that is developed and presented by people who the defendant once dated. Mm-hmm. I just don't think that's right.
Well, that was the core.
I don't want any of my exes filing a lawsuit.
Was an ex who wanted full custody so she and her new husband could move to Belgium, was the report I heard. And
by the way, just to take us off topic.
Yeah.
At this time, according to the Oklahoman, OU is leading South Carolina 7-0.
There we go.
Which I expect. Hey, I want to move just a little bit and deal a bit with healthcare, particularly the Obamacare situation. When I was on the air with Pat Campbell, 10 years ago, maybe more, when Obamacare first came into view, which was probably a little more, but we tried to point out that it was unsustainable.
Yes.
And the reason, and our current insurance commissioner, he wasn't the insurance commissioner at that time. He was in the state House or Senate. I can't remember which one. But anyway,
House, I believe.
Anyway, he ended up wanting to bring exchanges to Oklahoma, the healthcare exchanges, and he was very much for the Obamacare and everything like this. And we knew that it was unsustainable. And so what they did to try to put a carrot out for the states was to say the federal government will pay for probably, I think it was 75% of it. The federal government will take care of it until 2025, right? Well, 2025, believe it or not, has come and is about to go already even. So what we're faced now with, every state is faced with these heavy Medicare exchange costs, and people are freaking out. And so even within Democrats, there's somewhat of a fight. Anyway, the country plunged into a shutdown at the beginning of the month when lawmakers failed to agree on a short-term spending extension that would have funded the government through November 21st. But the disagreement wasn't about the package itself. In 2021, Congress temporarily expanded eligibility for Obamacare's enhanced premium tax credit subsidies meant to help Americans pay for their health insurance plan.
That was during COVID.
Right. That increased eligibility sunsets at the end of 2025. And so now a part of everything that is holding up the budget is a fight over this area, this aspect. But see, we could see it coming 10 years ago more, that you cannot, it's unsustainable. And you cannot, but they threw the carrot out there. Oh, your state Medicaid programs and your, what is that for kids?
CHIP
programs.
Children's Health Insurance plan or something like that.
Right. And so it was a carrot that don't worry about it. The government's going to take care of 80, 90% of that. And you're good to go. And so, and it's so funny because the politicians at the time, or those wanting to be politicians at the time, saw this as something, I'll just use this to get into office and we'll worry about it when we get there. Well, we're there. And so now
we're down the road. We kick the can too.
Right. Exactly. We kick the can as far as we can.
Yeah.
So now a part of this whole shutdown deal is based on this. And the Democrats want to continue, of course, expand it or continue it. And here's a big part of it. This applies to undocumented. I'll just use that more acceptable word to some. The undocumented have added to this number.
Yeah.
And so it's, as I said, it's unsustainable, but yet for some reason the Democrats see it as an election tool, and they're trying to hold this against the Republicans. They're holding this up. All they have to do is pass this and we're good to go. And look how many millions it will benefit.
I got to say something on this, because you got pretty much it very accurately. When they call it undocumented, here's where the debate is going to be between Democrats and us is Biden just let everybody in, filled out a paper, said, okay, you're getting provisionary residency until your hearing. Now they're not technically undocumented. They have a document.
Well, yes, there's a portion of Arnett, but there were a bunch that didn't go through the gates, the borders, so that just came in.
They invaded, and then they would turn themselves in, many of them, not all of them.
Right, exactly.
This is the thing. The Democrats are saying, Mom, Dad, and your 4 kids, you aren't getting help on your health care unless you let all of Biden's friends who invaded us get the same thing you're getting. Am I incorrect on that?
No, you're right. And the other thing is, a lot of people who don't have that privilege, there's some rule, and I don't know why we have this. It sounds good, it feels good, is if you're ever in problems, need health care or any type of assistance, you just show up at the emergency room. Mm-hmm. That's why you show up at any emergency room any time of day.
Especially on a Friday night.
and it's just packed. I mean, just packed to the gills. We're talking up till, midnight, 1, 2 in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so, because the law says they cannot turn you away, whether you have money or not. In fact, one of my clients and his wife years ago with their child, I had to take my son in. He had gotten in a soccer game, kicked in the eye or something. And so I had to take him to ER to be checked. And by the time it was an out of town game. And so I had to take him. And so it was like 1 in the morning, I go into ER and there's my client and his wife and their kid there. And so I said, hey. And then after the next week, I spoke with him. I said, so what was going on in emergency? We don't have insurance. So we just go to the emergency room, and you have to wait a long time, but it's free medical care.
It's slavery.
Right. And so the tragedy of it is, if you're wondering why your premiums are so high, it's because of exactly that. You have so many people that are not paying insurance, they're not paying their medical bills, and the hospitals have to make their money from someplace. Mm-hmm. And that's why, because we're paying for all of these uninsured people, domestic and foreign, foreign and domestic. It's not just the foreigners. We have a lot of uninsured Americans that have chosen to spend their money on something other than insurance and are going to use the system that's been set up. And that's the problem with getting people used to living off the federal dole.
That was the thing.
That
if I could, I don't.
It keeps expanding.
Dominate here is the reason why Oklahoma and several other states did not set up
exchanges.
Yeah, these state-based exchanges that Obamacare called for. because we actually believed the language of the ACA that within 10 years, the federal subsidies will phase out and everything's going to fall on the states to continue it. And we saw, we believed him.
Right.
Well, the problem is the federal government didn't follow their own bill. They said, okay, these subsidies, the cost sharing is going to go on forever. Now, Trump tried to stop it, but Paul Ryan and a bunch of them in the House said, no, we might not get reelected if we actually phase this out.
Well, the great thing about the shutdown is that Trump can now go through and make cuts during the shutdown that he could not make any other way.
Yeah, right.
And as far as I'm concerned, do away with all kinds of department. Take a big, sickle to the weeds that have grown up everywhere. Again, as we mentioned earlier in the show today, employing Democrats and demonizing the population. But today, in the No Kings effort, the protest, those who are protesting, were in favor of Biden mandating vaccinations, locking you down, closing your business, having your relatives die alone. Not to mention this party, the Democrats, appointed Kamala to be their candidate without one single primary vote.
Yep.
It's obvious they don't have a problem with kings. They just want their own king.
Right. That's exactly right. That is exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's why the word democracy, it's like we had talked about this before, David, in cult apologetics. One of the tactics of cults is to redefine terms.
Sure.
And
how
they have
you cannot
taken the
win
word, they've
cannot-
taken the word democracy and democratic and
Yes.
convoluted it
And-
to mean whatever they want it to mean.
And they said, our democracy.
Yeah,
that means
right.
us in charge.
Yeah, right.
Well, and you cannot win a debate if the other side is in control of the terms.
Yeah.
And that's obviously something we need as conservatives to address. Now, in my small way, I have decided not to buy into the undocumented term. I simply call them criminal invaders.
Yes, they are.
I don't care what
I'm
age
with
they
you.
are. They need to go out.
Illegal.
Now,
Unlawful.
you were talking earlier about the, excuse me, about the, we don't have a cough button on.
Yeah, we do. If I know
You
you
switch.
If you're
You
getting,
do.
if I know you do
David.
this, stick
Okay.
your thing in.
David.
Okay.
You got to switch there.
Oh,
You have an
okay.
on-off
Yeah,
switch.
the switch on the mic. Okay, we'll work on that. Anyway, but the alphabet folks, the 2S, all of that, I am tired of letting them abuse the word gay. Gay means happy. There is nothing happy about that lifestyle. And in fact, there's high suicide rates in that. And I've thought about that. I mean, do you go down the alphabet road because they keep adding letters that mean this or mean that? I think we should simplify it and just call them deviants.
Okay. All right.
It's a deviant lifestyle.
no, you're right. I mean,
whatever perversion of deviancy they want,
You're
it's
correct.
still not the majority.
Yeah,
It is a deviancy.
And I agree with you on as far as undocumented, illegal. It should be named that. They are illegally in our country, especially those who went around the border. There's nothing legal. There's nothing. Can't remember what terms they want to give it, but I guess undocumented is the term they want to use. But it's illegal. It's unlawful. It's unconstitutional. It's you name it, and it is that.
Eddie,
Yes,
some
sir.
of them are actually saying newcomers.
Newcomers.
They're actually calling them newcomers.
Newcomers. Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, I know. This is one of the tactics, though, they want to use is the redefining of terms, whether it's calling illegals undocumented, whether you call what we were just talking about, where I said
Oh, deviants?
Well,
Yeah.
that's one, but I can't think of it right now. But anyway, a redefinition of terms is what cults use to indoctrinate their people, to make everything sound so wonderful. And
so
different.
they can say, I believe in Jesus, but now define believe and define Jesus.
Exactly.
Well,
right.
and not that we want to go, I mean, we're talking a lot about
Democracy
politics.
is the other word that they've redefined.
But we might as well get to religion. Where is the courage in our pastors to call out Christian heresy? Because there are churches in Tulsa that apparently believe the deviant lifestyle is authorized by God. I find that in Christian belief abhorrent. It is a heresy. It is not true.
But that's so intolerant of you.
Yes, it is. I will stand with what
God's intolerant.
said.
I mean, that's the bottom line. If you believe in the God of the Bible, the father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Moses, David, he is intolerant, people. I'm sorry. He has given us a way to make up for the sin, but he's not going to tolerate. Okay. I'm sorry. You can continue. I just had to throw that out.
No, I like that soapbox. Climb right back up there anytime you want.
I want to say, now, I believe you mentioned growing up Presbyterian.
I actually made a commitment and was baptized at First Christian Church when I was 9 years old.
Oh, okay. There we go. Disciples of Christ?
Disciples of Christ, while it still existed before it has now failed miserably. And let me tell you a little bit about that.
Well, I was going somewhere with this.
Okay, then quickly get after
preface. Eddie and I have been part of what generally is called evangelical, somewhat charismatic Protestant,
right.
Pentecostal. But anyway, what I've seen happen is we've gone from the congregational form of government and the structured
church government.
Yeah, church government where, they answer to the district or conference or whatever. And I've seen it replaced with a bunch of sole proprietorship churches that put on a stage show every Sunday morning. Gone are the days of vacation Bible school or even Sunday school for that matter. And it's just you put on a show. And I really have problems with that.
And I think that's unfair in many ways.
Well, I'm saying it's a growing trend.
There are some, but there is also independent spirit driven movements like Charlie Kirk's is one good example of that.
Yeah, no, he doesn't claim to be a church.
No, he's not. Now, what I do agree with you, and in trying to rescue my 90-year-old mother from people that were abusing her, I found that the Baptist church in particular that was involved in that abuse, I went to the Baptist group, regional office,
Yeah.
And I basically told them I was having a problem with this particular church.
Yep.
Pastor's wife, body of the church. And there is a lot of details on that. That's another chapter in the book. But they essentially told me that every church is their own body. That though they may be or affiliate with Baptist or United Methodist or whatever the denomination is, that's just simply to, affiliate, but there's no control from the denomination down to the local.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at here, I'm seeing a lot of Protestant denominations really either fall apart or just dwindle away. What I am seeing is some of the liturgical denominations, particularly the Anglicans recently split. There's some conservative Anglican churches that says, you know what?
Okay, that happened in 2008. What you're talking about is the English church and the Archbishop of Canterbury.
But something happened here recently.
That is the Archbishop of Canterbury, if I may fill you in. And I come to this with some background because I became a Episcopalian, which was the Anglican version of the Church of England, when I was in college, and stayed that way until 2008, when the American Episcopal Church ordained a gay bishop. Now, of course, at the time he was saying it was a wonderful relationship and it was a full-time permanent relationship. That relationship is now divorced. But anyway, that was the excuse. Well, I and others, my priest and pastor, went to the national conference and tried to get the Episcopalians not to do this. Many of the churches did. Nevertheless, the Episcopal Church went down that road. They have continued down that road to the point I do not believe that the Episcopal Church in America is Christian. But all of that aside, I went to the Anglican Church. Now, the Anglican Church in North America is more closely affiliated with the Anglicans in Africa than they are with the English version of that. Now, what happened recently was the appointment of the new Archbishop of Canterbury is apparently either gay herself or very supportive of the deviant
culture. The first problem is herself.
The latter for sure. Though.
So, but, I also have to acknowledge that the Anglican Church, in my experience, has become focused on building a hierarchy rather than building the congregation. Now, there are a couple of things I look for in any church. One is the communion. Jesus said, do this in remembrance of me. I'm very interested in doing that in remembrance of him. The second is a fellowship that and preaching and teaching that is biblical based and uplifting and friendly. However, this lack, and I hate to name the formerly United Methodist Church that I attend because I don't want to be specific in this, but I am attending an independent Methodist church. And they want to bring people in, and I appreciate that. They don't want to offend anybody. And they say as a part of their opening remarks, usually with every service, that no matter where you've been or what you believe, whether you believe with us or dramatically disagree, you are welcome. And I agree with that thought. And they do preach specifics in the Bible that I think are good and all of that. But I've been trying to get them to establish a adult group that would consider public policies. Now, in the Bible, where Jesus was asked whether we should pay taxes, and his answer was, give me a coin. And he pointed out that coin, Caesar's picture was on one side. And he said, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. But the coin of the realm in a democratic republic, the coin of the realm today in America is a informed, involved citizenry. And if the church fails to participate in being informed on public policy issues, they fail their faith. Because while leadership is ordained by God, and we should follow that leadership, by the same token, in a republic of free people, you have an obligation to be informed and knowledgeable and involved. If we fail to confront heresy in the faith, if we fail to, and in fact, I had a little joke line right after the election. I talked to my priest and I said, okay, now that the election is over, can we talk about potholes? Because there is It's public policy. How do we organize government? Is it proper and right for the city of Tulsa to put a public vote out for an emergency center and not have accurate numbers on what it's going to cost us to move into the dang thing?
Yeah.
And isn't that a low ball to get the public support and get us committed to where we can't walk away from the deal when we find out it's 2 or 3 times what it cost us?
Okay.
These are public policy issues. I believe Christians and people of the Hebrew faith and people of the Muslim faith as well, we should talk about public policy issues, regardless of your faith.
But and you were referring to the Global Anglican Fellowship, or GAFCON, which is largely very much African, but not just. It's global. And they have this week decided, okay, we no longer submit to the leadership of the Archbishop of Canterbury. Right. So now you definitely have two separate organizations.
He was kind of a distant relative anyway before that.
Yeah.
And that is the group that the North American Anglican Church is affiliated with and has been affiliated with for some time. They have their own conferences. They have their own bishops.
Okay. This is one of those things that I see as a good thing when it comes to respect for the doctrine of the church from corruption that's been going on in the more liberal denominations. The other one I see is the Orthodox, or what we call Greek Orthodox Church. They're growing in numbers.
Yeah, I like the Greek Orthodox.
Right.
They're fun.
And
they don't have pews like like other churches.
So,
and I'm an old guy. I like to sit down.
No,
I can't stand for an hour or two.
Well, I'm seeing some changes here. Some are good, some are bad. What used to be largely done through the Protestant church, you see more happening at a Charlie Kirk rally, Turning Point, or other kinds of organizations like that.
People always underestimate divine providence. I believe divine providence saved Donald Trump from an assassin's bullet. I think divine providence is going to multiply the goodwill, the good heart, and the good spirit of Charlie Kirk and overwhelm the evil that faces this country. And I pray for them daily.
Amen.
I so admire Charlie Kirk. And after his assassination, I actually talked with other journalists that I had never discussed faith with. And found that they too were upset about it. They too realize we're all in the business of talking to people and asking questions and engaging on these kinds of issues. And if you can be assassinated for just talking, then it's no longer a free country. But what Charlie Kirk did that I failed miserably at is he began faith-based and moved into conservative thought from a position of faith. I agree. I entered the field as a truth teller, wanting to promote the truth of journalism. And even, this is hard to say, there isn't anybody in media that really is that much of a truth teller. It's just a business. And that's where we have failed in editorial judgment. That is where every media has failed to step up. There is a difference between good and evil, and you either promote the good and diminish the evil, or you are a part of it.
That's well said, David. Well said.
Yeah, let's wrap this up here, and in a kind of a bundle. The big thing of the day to me is this No Kings protest, national protest. And bottom line, the No Kings protest is somewhat being hijacked by the anti-Israeli movement. We haven't touched upon that here today, and I don't want to get too deeply into it. But basically, the No Kings movement is an anti-Israel, anti-GOP, anti-administration, and anti-conservative thought movement. And it's every, as you would say, deviant ideology all thrown into one big mix, wanting to protest. In other words, if you're ticked off about anything that's going on in America, show up this Saturday, wherever it is in your local area.
Well, and the posters for that thing clearly illustrate it. The number and the type of organizations supporting it are just stunning, but they're all from the left.
Yeah, sure.
It's destroy America so we can make a utopia. We don't know what that utopia is going to look like, but please destroy your country so we can. It's just insane.
Oh, yeah. And other countries, whether it's Russia, whether it's Iran, China, they're all sitting back applauding.
Yeah, of course. Or funding. Or funding this in many cases.
Yeah, I would even say a lot of the EU, because America has gotten too big for their britches.
Well, if you are morally corrupt, how offensive is it for someone to be moral in your presence? Yeah. How dare?
Yeah.
How dare that happen?
So basically, and this is why I believe Charlie Kirk had to be taken out, because he was having too large of an effect across the board, and those he was affecting are the people who are the next generation of world changers, college students, students and people, let's say between 16 and 25, that were going to start taking positions of authority and power and influence, and they can't have that because it throws a wrench into
it. Was like
machine.
Socrates getting murdered at the Forum, He was corrupting the youth of society. That was the charges against Socrates when they put him to death. But yeah, you're right. And I just, by the way, there's one other thing.
Please.
We, at this time last week, we were kind of on the edge of our seats, seeing if the peace deal was going to happen. It did, as best we can tell. David, what are your thoughts on it? I would love to hear.
Well, I'm absolutely stunned.
In the limited amount of time we have, David is going to
solve all the world's problems. Just listen. I never thought in my lifetime that there would be peace between Israel and those that were living in Gaza, and the West Bank, for that matter. My granddaughter listens to a lot of the younger podcasts, and she is inclined to support, the underdog. And there's been an underdog case, but it's also been, once again, we are the narratives we consume. So there's a lot of, whether it's the SEC or Hamas, there's a lot of propaganda out there that alters the perspectives. And, oh, by the way, OU is up 14 points against South Carolina, which has not scored a point yet. Anyway, not that I would pull back to our first hour too much. But if we are the narratives we consume, then we have to be exceedingly careful on what we're sitting down to dinner with or for. That's why I appreciate fresh black coffee and your effort here, and why I am looking at doing a similar kind of event. Not that I would be in competition with what you're doing. I have some other ideas on that, but here's the point. We've got to start coming together, because if we don't hang together, we will most assuredly hang separately. Well, Charlie Kirk showed us that. We got to be together on this. We've got to be aggressive. And I thank you, gentlemen, for your time and for the opportunity to be here today and to speak with you. Coming in, I think, 2 hours. Are you kidding me? Who would listen to 2 hours of podcast? So here's the offer that I make to our listeners. If you will let me know either on tulsatoday.com or arnett.substack.com by email. My number is also in the contact page of tulsatoday.com. But if you will let me know that you have listened to this podcast for 2 hours, I will buy your lunch in the city of Tulsa. And I look forward to meeting your listeners, all of them, as quickly as we can schedule that for the thousands I believe will take me up on this offer of free lunch.
I'll call you Monday morning.
Not you. No. Those involved in the station are excluded from the game.
I know.
Well, the only other
way,
thing,
I bought you lunch last time we got together.
You did.
The only other thing on my notes, and just a quick passing, Trump kind of upped the ante in Ukraine. By saying, maybe I'll sell tomahawks. All of a sudden, he gets a call from Putin. And Putin all of a sudden has some, interest in moving things along because those tomahawks can hit Moscow.
Well, they can also hit the military bases that Russia parks their bombers that are bombing Ukraine. Now, Putin has been firing Tomahawk missiles.
Their version.
Their version of those kinds of missiles into Ukraine for a long, long time.
Yep.
But Putin is, as is their pattern, threatens everything, does nothing other than continue the war because he thinks he can outlast everybody. Well, in my opinion, I think we need to not be on the ground, but maybe it's time for Europe to send some troops to help them.
Not us.
I'm just afraid of it. Still the escalation factor. But what I think should have happened on both sides is they should have said, okay, the Donbass is gone. It's pretty much in Russian hands. And it's majorly populated by Russian speakers or Russian immigrants into that area anyway. And that seemed to be the big point of contention 6 months ago and back. And I believe had the Ukrainians said, okay, we hated it, but for the sake of peace, if that is your true intentions, and America should have, Trump, whoever, should have said, all right, we're drawing the line here. You don't want us involved. You don't want anything to do with it. This is the new line.
Trump's latest pitch is wherever the line of contest is, that's where it ought to do that. However, that also legitimizes the Russian seizure of the Crimea that Obama allowed, because that seizure and Russia's activity here also in the separate state of Georgia and other places surrounding Russia. This is the first time a country has changed borders by force of arms since World War II. And Putin can't get away with this. Putin and Kathy Taylor are very similar. If their mouths are moving, they are lying to you.
Sure. No, we need to understand that. My only thing is, see, it's almost a reverse situation of what the Clintons did or Bill did back in the 90s with Kosovo. You had these Kosovar Albanians that moved up into, and they wanted their independence, they wanted their freedom. So what did we do? We supported the Kosovars, the Albanians, basically. And we started bombing Serbia and on their behalf and all this. And finally, they said, okay, Kosovo is now an independent area. We're going to cut it off from our country, formerly Yugoslavia. So here, what I see is a similar thing, that Russia basically has this area. And the majority of the people there are Russian speaking, or they're Russian immigrants, if you will, or maybe they were always Russian, whatever. But anyway, if at the cost of, and then, but here's the other side of it. Then NATO moves in and secures that border. In other words, this is, if you're saying this is all you want, this is what all you get, and we are now moving our countries in line with that. And that's just my opinion. That would, to me, be the way to deal with this now. Because if we're going to continue to fight over the Donbass and they're not going to give peace until Russia gives it up, or Russia gives it up to have peace from the other side, we'll be at it forever. They'll be at it forever.
I forget who the first president was who said this, but the line is, the business of America is business.
Right.
Trump has really brought that to the fore.
Yeah, you're right.
And by focusing on prosperity, by helping and going out of the way to help nations worldwide, he has solved now, what is it, 8 major conflicts, some that have gone on for thousands of years. Yeah. And what our critics, the communists in particular, have always wanted to demonize the success of prosperity, of free people and Western civilization. But we have to defend that from them and really show people, as we should show people in our own country, that growing business grows prosperity. It does lift all boats. It does make people more free, happier, more satisfied. This is how we're supposed to be.
And he uses it as a weapon.
Yeah.
You guys either work it out or your tariffs are going up.
A businessman will do that. If he has a aggressive competitor, go, look, okay, there's a lot of different ways we can pull different levers.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, it's kind of like me and some of the media and I, we could go to war with each other. Mm-hmm. Using our public platforms. Mm-hmm. I prefer not to do this, but I see nationally news programs interviewing experts that are contrary to their opinions. When was the last time, if you've ever seen a local television broadcast, where they interviewed local experts that disagreed? Mm-hmm. Never. No. Ever. Mm-hmm. Now, we have quality people that need to be talking beyond their existing shells or silos, as I tend to call them. And we need to resolve some of these issues. Yeah. Not talking about it doesn't do any good. The problem is we have no platform, and the power elite, the moneyed elite, the people who believe themselves, should I say, kings, they don't want us talking. That's why we must.
This just in. On the Fresh Black Coffee show, David Band called for a new coach at OSU named Cody Campbell of Texas Tech.
No.
No, you can't have Cody.
No. Cody's not a coach.
I don't care. He's an expert in NIL, and that's what they need badly.
He's
That previous discussion I had no part in.
What you want is Cody's money. That's what you're talking about.
I want a new game plan, because clearly OSU failed to change with the dynamic changes.
That's true. NIL, you can fight it or you can go with it.
That's it.
And that's the deal. That's where we are.
Thank you again, gentlemen.
Well, thank you, David. And we will talk to the rest of you next week. God bless. Have a great week. And hopefully this weather passes quickly. Bye.
We're under 2 minutes.